Good afternoon and welcome to the May 24th, 2022 meeting of the Meriwether County Board of Commissioners. We're glad all of you could be here today. We ask now if you have any cell phones or other electronic devices, if you would please just silence those for the remainder of our meeting. If you'll please stand for the invocation, be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day that you've given us. We thank you once again. We have the opportunity to come together and take care of the business of this county. As we always do, dear Lord, we just ask that you guide our thoughts, our words, our actions, that what we do will be uplifting to you and in the best interest of all of us who live here in this county. We thank you for those who are in attendance tonight. We ask that you watch over everyone as they travel back to their respective places and give them safe travels. And we pray these things in your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It was sweet to hear that little voice. That was great. All right, our first item will be to adopt the agenda. Ms. Irizarry, you have something to add?
I would like proclamation number 1 to be moved to public hearing, and that's the proclamation to honor Julia Ellison on her 103rd birthday, and add number 5 to new business, which is Courthouse Roof drain investigation. No.
Okay, are there any other changes? All right, hearing none, can we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
We have a second? Second. All in favor? Carries. All right, now we'll move on to the finance report. Mr. Bill?
Madam Chair, y'all have the report in front of you. General fund is still strong at 4.1 million, along with the funds in the local government investment pool of 1 million, for a total of almost 5.2 million, which this point in the year is pretty strong, and we're pleased with that. The rest of the accounts are on here, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
That's all I have, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have anyone sign up for citizen comment? Okay, all right, we'll move on to the minutes. We have the minutes from the May 11th, 2022, 9 a.m. regular meeting. We've had an opportunity to look over those. Are there any corrections, changes, or deletions? Hearing none, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a second? Second. All in favor? You abstain?
I abstain.
She was not at the meeting. All right, thank you. All right, next we're going to move on. Well, first of all, Ms. Irizarry, I think you had an introduction you wanted to make.
Yes, Madam Chair and Board, I would like to introduce Cassandra Sharp, who is our new Planning and Zoning Director. She's been doing planning, zoning, and code enforcement for 18 plus years. Her last place of employment was City of Lovejoy. She also serves as treasurer for Georgia Association of Code Enforcement.
Okay, good, welcome. I'm glad to have you here.
We can do anything for you, let us know.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, and we are honored tonight to have Miss Julia Ellison with her, and we're going to be recognizing her on her 103rd birthday. And this is some of her family here tonight. So we're going to read our proclamation, and we also have a couple of other proclamations that were sent to us that we would like to read, and then we'd like to do some pictures in the presentation, if that's okay. All right. All right, this is for Meriwether County, a birthday proclamation to honor Julia Ellison on her 103rd birthday. Whereas Julia Ellison was born to the late Ollie Ellison Turner and the late Bud Fairchild McGee on May 24th, 1919, and whereas Julia Ellison enjoyed a big Sunday dinner celebration after church for her 103rd birthday at her home in Durand, followed by an ice cream social later in the week where her family members and friends shared memories and stories from years gone by. And whereas Julia Ellison is the proud mother of 6 children, Shirley J. Young, Jasper Ellison, Iris D. Scott, Etheline Scott, Jovis F. Scott, and the late Wilfred Ellison. Miss Ellison is also proud of her grandchildren, Shonda Scott, Chandra Glover, Cedric Parks, Rodez Gotthard, Derek Scott, Nashasta Taylor, Emmanuel Ellison, and Amber K. Harris. Great-grandchildren, Rashawn, Timon, Caleb, Shakayla, Corey, Kazan, Cameron, Ritaya, Latasha, and Khadijah. Great-grandchildren, Damon, Kylie, Audrey, and Austin. And whereas Julia Ellison enjoys big family gatherings at her home, cooking, gardening, traveling, family outings, serving the Lord, and reminiscing with family and friends about the olden days. As a young girl, she would have to walk to school and to church in all weather conditions. Her father was a cobbler and made sure she had good shoes. And whereas Julia Ellison joined Trinity CME Church located in the Durand community at the age of 12 and was baptized by the Reverend S.F. Dozier. As a member of the church, Miss Ellison has served on the usher board, in the choir, and as a faithful stewardess. Miss Ellison retired from her long years of service on the stewardess board, but remains actively involved in worship services and provides motherly and Christian guidance to others. She is the oldest active member of Trinity CME Church. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Meriwether County Board of Commissioners wish Julia Ellison a happy and healthy 103rd birthday. We recognize this tremendous impact she has had in her family, church, and in the lives of all the people she has touched, presented before the Meriwether County Board of Commissioners this 24th day of May 2022. And we have a couple of other proclamations that have been sent. I'll read this. This is, Dear Miss Ellison, please accept my most sincere wishes for a very happy 103rd birthday. I hope you enjoy this milestone surrounded by your loved ones. Your commitment to your family and community is inspiring, and I have no doubt that your incredible life will continue to bring joy to you and others. Please do not hesitate to contact my office if there is anything that I can do for you or your family. It is an honor to serve you and all Georgians in the United States Senate. Reverend Raphael Warnock. To Miss Julia Ellison, greetings. On this special occasion, the Kemp family extends our warmest regards as you celebrate your 103rd birthday. We hope that you have a wonderful day. On behalf of the state of Georgia, it is our honor to wish you another year of good health and happiness, and may you continue to bless the lives of those around you. Governor Brian Kemp. And we have Miss Jacqueline Dowell has sent this for Miss Ellison. And then we have the proclamations, but we'd like to gather somewhere where it's convenient with you and take a few pictures. So y'all tell us what you want to do or what works for you. Yeah, and she can stay seated for sure, and we can stand around.
You'll grab your chair. Probably. Why don't you move your chair? Put your chair in the desk so that we can,
We'll do one with her and the Board of Commissioners, then we'll have all the family come up and we'll do another one. How about that? Is that okay? Actually, today. I'm good.
Oh, that's right, take your glasses off.
Oh, okay. Okay, you got to tell me. All right, if the family wants to come up, we'll gather around and.
We'll step in the back.
So we get in the back, and y'all can get in the front, and we'll stand behind you. How about that? I think we'll get you to come lead our pledge of allegiance. You heard it? It was sweet. All right. Yeah, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Good. It's good to see you all.
I don't either.
No, that's it. I'm Freddie Hines' wife, the guy who used to be the state trooper.
That's what I thought you meant. Oh, I thought you were talking about her. I'm sorry.
You are so welcome. Such an honor. Such an honor.
We'll look for her back next year.
Well, let them know that they don't have to stay.
They got to go.
Yeah.
You may want to.
So be careful with them shoulders. I've seen old people just like that. Rollers
Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad that you guys could be with us today. And I tell you, Sterling's child, y'all need to have to listen to her and record all this at the YouTube.
Late
So there's
child.
children and grandchildren know that.
There's something in here.
I look back on my
I think that's what Veronica stuff came in.
and I will listen. Thank you all so
Thank you. Be safe.
Thank you, baby.
Thank you. Y'all have a safe trip back home. Thank you for coming. Oh, okay.
I wonder who the oldest living inactive member of the church is.
You know, right? I don't think anybody has her beat.
I mean,
Inactive, maybe.
they specified active.
Well, yeah.
Maybe it. Yeah, he's out there talks to her. That's okay.
Okay, it was a good way to start our meeting tonight. We're going to move on now, though, to appointments. And this is for the Water and Sewage District 5, which has been mine. I'm happy to say I have someone to nominate tonight. It's Mr. W.D. Brown. He's back there in the back. And I make that in form of a motion to represent District 5 on the Water and Sewage Authority.
I'll second.
All in favor? Welcome aboard. Thank you. And they will be in touch with you. All right, we'll move on to the The unfinished business is our 2022 resurfacing contract. I believe we've been given some information on that, and
Madam Chair and Board, this was tabled at our last meeting. There is some additional information that has been provided from Piedmont Paving in regards to the different roads and the dates that they plan to get those up to par. Mr. Cawthorn's here to answer any questions you might have.
Madam Chair?
yes.
Unfortunately, I was not here at the last meeting, so are these the roads that were already scheduled to be, these are the 2021?
The list, those are those that need correction
Those are
on the
corrections.
2021 LMIG.
But they've come from the 2021,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, does anybody have any questions? You have that info, this is the paper on that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
The one you're talking about. These are the roads that have been resurfaced but need repairs. And we had asked about a time frame that these would be done, and that's what this paper is. So does anyone have any questions on that?
So this is just a tentative schedule, it's not anything they can lock in? Is this the one where they had to subcontract out the work?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think weather is about the main thing they said that could affect those dates at this point.
That's correct.
But we were hesitant to award our bid
2022.
at our last meeting. We couldn't get some kind of clarification on the repairs.
And that's understandable, considering the other one on Primrose took a year and a half to do. So all of these roads are for EPS to do, not Piedmont himself.
That's right.
This is
EPS
the
has to
one
make
that-
the correction.
Right, so, and since we don't have a contract directly with EPS, this is just through them, how do we hold it accountable? In case, we know weather, we know other than, but let's say it takes longer than these dates, then how do we assure
We, the county, have not paid Piedmont for that
this
work.
work at all?
We have not paid them.
Okay,
So we have that money. And then we also have this, the 22 LMIG resurfacing contract as well. So if y'all elect to award that, we'll have them, locked into another contract. They'll be here in the county. They're also saying they probably could start the 2022 LMIG if we can get all the paperwork done or the resurfacing in about 2 weeks.
So if we agree to do this contract, in this new contract, does it state that we will not be okay with third party?
Not what?
I'm not okay with third party. I'm not okay with them bidding out to whoever they want or having somebody come in, because that's not who we're contracting with. And if we're contracting with Piedmont, then I'd like Piedmont to be responsible for doing that. I understand sometimes, but you shouldn't take on more work than you can actually do.
And also in the contract for 2022, we took out the surface treatment. So
And that's what
there will
Piedmont
be.
couldn't do.
That's right.
They had
So
to subcontract
The only
that.
subcontract they will have is a striping contract for each striping.
That's normal, I think. Okay, but am I missing it on the agenda as far as approving the resurfacing contract, or was that just gonna all be within?
The unfinished business is the
I mean,
2022.
it was this and that together, but.
We were just providing the additional
I got you.
information based on the tabling from last
Okay.
meeting.
All right, sounds good.
Madam Chair, before we put a motion into bid, I went over and was reading the minutes, and I do have a question about how some of our roads were selected. And I know Commissioner Plant had talked about Forest Road. And I brought it up several times before, and I understand you do have a list of roads that you've kind of prioritized.
Have the road evaluation.
Road evaluation. So all of these roads that is on this current one is part of your road evaluation, and they are the top priority roads?
They're based on their condition. Now, some of the conditions that we're currently using, we're not really going after the worst roads. Like Luthersville Road is one of our worst roads. So we're getting some of the worst roads. We're also getting some of the roads that are not in desperate need and have fallen apart. Because if you can capture and resurface those roads ahead of a lot of base failure, you save yourself a lot of money. So we're kind of coming at it in two different directions.
The reason I asked is because we had a discussion. There used to be where you used to do it by districts, and we all discussed that doing by district may not be the best route. Look at the worst roads so that it won't cost us more down the road. So I just want to verify, how are we choosing that if you've already evaluated the roads? Because I know you know, I'm sure every road needs some kind of work, but Forest Road needs to be looked at in some form or fashion.
That's
It
gonna
is
be
what-
that's gonna be a major project.
And one thing we talked about at our
Like
last
Elizabeth.
meeting, you can correct me if I'm wrong, though, since it was not on the bid proposal, if we accept the proposal, we can go in and make changes.
Yes, ma'am.
If we want to take out a road, and that's what we talked about at our last meeting, was doing something about Forest Road, whatever part of it we could do, and it would just make changes, but we'd have to go out, if we want to just do that exclusively, we would have to go out and do new
Rebidding.
bids. And so we can do it within the bid package, we'll just have to try to make it work within what we have here.
And we did that last year with one of my roads because
With Mount Carmel.
with Mount Carmel Road, so you're saying we have that option again to look at that.
And we discussed that at the last meeting about Forest Road in particular.
Yeah, and once again, I would like for our county administrator to look at what the state is offering as far as the infrastructure bill that was passed. I've been told different things, so I'm still trying to get the information myself, but there is funding now available for infrastructure. So how do we apply and what do we need to look like? Because like a lot of counties, we want to take advantage of all those fundings that's going to be available. Because my other question is, I know we have a culvert that you indicate on River
Cove Road.
Road, and that's fine, but I also know Strickland Town Road, which was washed out 3 years ago, should have had a culvert put in as well. So I'm just trying to determine, how do we determine which road goes over another road? What is the procedure we have in place? And I'm not questioning the fact that they all need it. We know that. But how do you determine one over the other? What is your priority, or what are your metric that you're doing this? Because
It depends on the process that we're bidding out. So if we're bidding out resurfacing and chip seal, they have a lower needs rating, but you can seal those out and save those roads before you get to a higher rating where you've got like 50 or 60% of base failure. When you get to that stage, you're in total reconstruction. And it's like Luthersville Road. Forest Road is the same way.
so Strickland Town Road that washed out 3 years ago,
That's
where is that falling to get a new culvert or
That would
box
have to
cutter
be
and all
brought,
that?
that would have to be brought to the board, to go out to submit for, proposals.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, why was that not part of this initial bid like the other road? That's what I'm trying to
This is
determine.
just resurfacing.
The one on,
No, Lamig is just for resurfacing though.
okay, so we'll come to that later. Okay, thanks. I'm sorry.
All right, does anybody else have any questions? Or if there are none, can we have what's your pleasure regarding the 2022 resurfacing contract?
I make a motion that we move forward, accepting the LMIG list as presented.
I'll second.
All right, we have any questions? All in favor? All right, carries. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Next, under unfinished business, is the Public Safety Communications Tower. This was something that we discussed in great detail at our last meeting, and then we have received some additional information during a work session prior to this meeting tonight. And I think, unless anybody else has any conversation about that or any comments they want to make, I think we know where we probably need to proceed with that, but see if anybody else has any comments. If not, somebody have a motion.
I make a motion, we proceed with the one that Brian did today,
Not to exceed
Exceed 95,000.
95,000.
not to exceed 95,000, right?
And that is for the equipment, and then the building and fencing not to exceed 10,000.
That's right, that's right.
And this
And
all hinges on
All contingent
connectivity.
upon the fiber that
Fiber
Nate.
front, okay.
Okay. All right, hearing that motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, thank you. All right, next is the home occupation license interpretation regarding direct sale product. Mr. Gay talked with us in length about this at our last meeting. There is a paper in your packet with some verbiage, and I think Ms. Irizarry is going to talk to us a little bit about what he's done and what he's worked on in that.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, you will see section 5.5 and 5.6 from our Code of Ordinances. This is addressing how times have changed with direct sales, and in reviewing the allowable businesses currently under residential home occupations, this request seems to qualify, but it's not necessarily written out that way. So staff recommends allowing other products to be considered under the allowable direct product sales distribution category, as long as the home occupation meets the criteria that's established under Meriwether County's ordinance, and the business does not develop and expand into retail operation with an inventory of products for use.
That's pretty much what Mr. Gay talked with us about last week. He's just got all this put into writing. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I do, Madam Chair. So if I'm reading this, someone wants to be able to sell a gun at their home and resell it
From their home.
from their home. And we're comparing this to the same as someone selling Avon or Tupperware.
No, it's not just, I mean, it's not just, it's computers, it's anything. It's all these things that he's listed in the back on the, number 10 on your last page. It's just a lot of people are working from home now, doing sales. It wouldn't be a retail shop.
Retail means they won't have anyone coming there.
That's right. They
So
won't
they're
have
gonna buy
inventory.
it, store it, and then ship it back.
And that, or they're customizing it in some way, or whatever they're doing, where it's a computer. They order a computer for somebody and they upload the programs or what in it, and the person comes there and picks it up. That was one of the examples he gave us last week. Because the only thing that was on it, you can tell it was very, dated. It had,
Mary
Avon
Kay.
and Tupperware, I think, were the only things that were.
Amway, Mary Kay.
Amway. And,
So now we're allowing an individual to do guns and what else?
well, it's on number 10 there. It could be, well, I mean, it's a lot of things. Appliance repair, barbershops, beauty shops, there are limitations on that. Cabinet making, ceramics, contracting, tow truck services, veterinary services, and then, but they do have requirements they have to make. It's just not a blanket, okay. Architectural, art studios.
Basically a business without inventory. That's
And
my
with-
understanding.
without signage, without,
Marketing outside of the home.
it's in a residential home. And some of those I did it the other, and that was a rural home occupation. I'm sorry, I read off the wrong page. If you start on page, the bottom of page 1, where it says, the following are permitted residential home occupations, and that's where it lists 22 different things.
So these items were already on there. They're just adding this additional item on this list.
The only thing that was on our list, if I understand right, was Amway, Avon, Tupperware, and it said and others.
Right.
Direct sale distribution.
So if I'm reading this list, people can do appliance repair in their home.
No, I'm sorry, I read off the wrong list to begin with. Look on bottom of page 1.
It's 553J.
Where it says number 3, and then down, and under J, it lists all the things there. I pulled up the rural home occupation, not the residential home occupation.
So I should be looking at the residential home
The
occupation.
residential home, yes.
So that's art studio, consulting, data processing, graphic, dressmaking.
There's a lot of things that would fall under direct sale product distribution.
And I think
Like that.
that's one of my main concerns. I mean, for someone who's, sewing for someone or doing upholstery, that's a special order, something like that. But when you're doing a massive ordering and then you turn around and selling it back, whether it's direct sale or whether you're shipping it back to someone, knowing that someone may have that business right in your neighborhood, there's no way that citizens will know that you're operating that type of business, especially around guns. That's just one of my
Well, guns,
concerns.
they have to be licensed through something else anyway, not us. I mean, so that would fall under FFL. But I mean, you know, you may not have known that somebody was selling Avon next to you anyway, or doing some of these other things.
Or
But like I said,
dressmaking.
there's no signage there, there's not a retail store or anything. It's just what you're doing, a direct sale, you're fixing it, whether you're doing a special order or customization or whatever. And like I said, none of this consulting was not in there, any of the computer, and we know a lot of computer work's going on in homes. Of course, they have to buy a business license, so still, to do these things, so. Of course, Mr. Gay could not be here tonight, if you have any questions for him, but Ms. Irizarry may have some
Yeah.
answers.
The example tonight is a requester for a home occupation, and I'm sure you read that in here. He will be custom ordering firearms at the request of the customer, have the product delivered to the home business where the background checks FFL requirements would be completed before the transfer and delivery of the product to the customer.
And I know we've added a lot of other things to it, but this revision was done to make to make this available.
Well, what it is more so, it's to clarify number 5, which is direct sale product distribution, where it gives examples. And number 5 is really one of the only ones that gives examples, but it's just very dated because those are more examples from many years ago.
This ordinance is not new. You're not putting in a new ordinance, is my understanding. You're just clarifying that the direct sale product distribution identified in 5.5J5 extends beyond those that are in the parentheses. The et cetera means any items that would fit a direct sale and also meet the rest of the ordinance as it currently exists.
So this is not a new?
It's not a
No,
new
staff-
ordinance.
But you're.
This is already on the books as it's written.
And it says direct sales, it just didn't go into
Correct.
detail.
It's just
about what it's-
clarifying that direct sales means more than Amway, Avon, Jafra, and Mary Kay. Tupperware.
Yeah, staff's recommendation is to allow other products to be considered under the allowable direct product sales distribution category, as long as the home occupation meets the criteria established.
It's more to give guidance on those giving business licenses, et cetera, within the county, that as long as they're meeting the rest of the ordinance, they can get a business license to sell firearms or computers or whatever the product may be. Golf clubs, I mean, that's a big one.
Yeah.
You will repair golf clubs and then sell them directly.
And I actually order quite a few firearms online and have them sent to a gentleman in Harris County. And it's not a firing range or anything. I just go in, he verifies me, looks at my carry, verifies all that. I walk away with the gun.
Well, I know business is done different now, and it's going to constantly change. I just want to make sure that we don't find ourselves in a position we were a couple of years ago where someone started a business and then made the changes with the business. And I just want to make sure.
Sold.
Yeah, you know where I'm
I
coming
wanna
from.
know where you're going. Yeah.
I
sure.
mean, that is my main concern,
Yeah.
that if that's what you're gonna do, that's what you're gonna do. But a lot of times people choose to do something totally different, and we didn't have anything in the ordinance that would address that.
And
In the event that they did something
Yeah, and
different.
that was a bit, this would be different though, it's in a residential home. So a business that's in a residential home wouldn't necessarily transfer if that house was sold. You know what I mean? The business would not sell.
And there are already restrictions in your ordinance that restrict such things as noise, odors, et cetera, from being allowed. Now, I know people don't pay attention to certain things that are already in the ordinances, but.
We are just in a different time. I mean.
I agree with that,
people
but
are
I
like-
also know what we've experienced with
You're
people
right.
having a business that was in compliance, so.
You're
you know.
exactly right. Did it for that for several years. Any other questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
What do we need to do, Michael? Just
My understanding is that you're just allowing guidelines for staff that needs to look at 5.5 and 5.6 in there. So I think what you're going to authorize the administration to put together those guidelines consistent with the memorandum offered by Mr. Gay here today.
so I'll make a motion based on the verbiage of the attorney.
Do we have a second? Have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right, under new business. Skip anything. Ms. Veronica Dowell, request for funding for the 2022 AUR summer program.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, how are you?
Great. How are you all doing?
All right.
Awesome. We are here, I'm here to request funding again for our AURS Summer Enrichment Program. We'd like to thank you all for the money from last year. And as you all can tell, in looking at our flyer here, it tells you a lot of what we'll be putting on, the things that we'll be doing, the activities, the events, and different things like that that we'll be sponsoring in our program. And the thing about that is that it has increased. And not only has the things increased like stem cells, more field trips, because unfortunately, we did not get a chance to do any field trips last year because there was still a lot of COVID going on. But we have been approved to have, by the Board of Ed, to have the summer program at Unity Elementary again. Dr. Vining is no longer there. She's the assistant superintendent now, but we have talked to Mr. Eric, and he is on board with us having the program there again. Last year, we only had it for 4 weeks, and we stopped the last week of July. But this year, we'll be going until the first week of August. So school starts back August the 11th, so we'll be going until August the 4th. So we added on an extra week. And we have, as you all can see, we have stem cells, we have healthcare, wellness, mental health education. We have a lot of things going on because we know our youth are going through a lot of things. And unfortunately, with COVID, even pre and during COVID, and now still a lot of normalcy is not in their lives yet. But there are a lot of things that we're trying to make to where they are at least to the place that they're good with what they're doing in their life to be more, more sustainable. As we're trying to do programming more sustainable. The next thing I have here is our calendar. And as you all can see, I've already outlined everything in our calendar. I'm not sure if you all have a copy. I sent that to Miss. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. And it outlines everything that we'll be doing each day. We even have field trips for Noonan, which they have a lot of things going on at their library in Noonan. We have bowling, we have movie day, we have, like I say, a lot of times, a lot of youth are not exposed to a lot of different things like the Botanical Garden in Columbus. We have that on there as a field trip also. In that, we also, last year, 4-H came to our program, so we were able to do they did some potting, and they have a live garden in the back of the school, so we were able to do a lot of things with that with our 4-H leader last year, and she gave the youth pot, and they created their own flowers, and they were able to take everything home and grow things from that. Next thing, I just brought in like their letters, a lot of writing, a lot of reading, a lot of tutoring things if they need tutoring, anything that we can offer them, we will have, because we will have people there that are educators, retired educators. We have people there that will be able to be youth staff and different things like that, like we normally have in the program. So we will be doing a lot more writing than we did last year. Like parents, we'll be having them write, like they're overnight at a camp or something, writing these letters home to their parents, letting them know how they're enjoying the summer. Last thing we have here is our budget. The budget, as you can see, is outline of things that we would like to do during the summer that goes along with our calendar. And doing that, we want to enhance whatever the children are doing right now and build on the things that the school is doing and that parents are having their children exposed to, and that the after-school programming, and I know that they'll be doing summer school as well. So with these costs, as you all know, that the $12,000 will go toward a lot of different things, including we'll have a SRO at our disposal at Unity Elementary. She will be with us whenever we are there and when we go on different activities. And I've already talked to Captain Royce about that, so he's on board with that. Also have some different things here. As you all can see, the pictures and a lot of pictures. I've had so many pictures, I had to just choose from the pictures, and this was some of the pictures that we took from different activities. We had Miss Angie Shiver, she came up to read to the youth. We had collaboration with Miss Geraldine at the Luthersville Library. Unfortunately, she's not there anymore. We even had parents that came in with a set of twins. They were 3 years old. They came into the summer program because we had collaboration with the library to bring for them with her reading program. She would bring in the guest speakers and they would just come to the school and do activities with our youth at the summer program. And that's when the community was allowed to come in also to be a part of any activities. And I have 2 sets of pictures, as I put in there, the future and the past of things that we did during the summer camp and activities and everything. And then we'll also have things like a pirate treasure hunt, like I said, the scavenger hunt. We have so many things, and our parent involvement was so awesome last year that they came and stayed during the events and activities. Even when they dropped them off, sometimes they stayed there. And our last day was like a field trip, with like a field activities when we were doing things with the scavenger hunt. And we also had Kona Ice there. Field day, I'm sorry, that was the word I was looking for. So we have a lot of things going on and a lot of activities. And like I said, the summer camp summer brain camp, this is an activity that I found that's going to keep them exposed and writing to a lot of different things. Depending on their grades and their ages, I will find a lot of different more activities because my thing is to engage the older youth as well as the younger ones. And we had as many as at one time close to 30 last year. So we're looking to increase that number this year.
All right, on the budget you gave us, where it has the building rental, now, is that something that the school board is covering on the budget? I mean, they're SRO.
No, we're doing that.
Board doesn't give them anything.
Madam Chair,
Sheriff's Department, I'm sorry, we're requesting.
They don't, for whatever reason, they have not paid that, so.
And I know, and this has been a very worthwhile program. I know this started with Ms. Ball, a long time ago.
Yes, ma'am.
But the only way the county has been able to do anything is through the date fund. That's not, because we can't do for one program and not do for all programs.
Definitely.
And, really the only thing that falls under the date rules is the education on the drug and substance abuse and that kind of thing.
Yes.
So really the only thing that, if I'm understanding it right, the only thing that we really can approve is the $1,250 that is for the drug and substance abuse training and activities, with that.
I'm a certified prevention specialist and I do the substance abuse program, period. So I'm there and I will be doing this totally with that daily.
Yeah.
I do the substance abuse.
That's what I'm saying. That's what qualifies to be used under the funds. We don't really have control over the date fund. That comes through the sheriff's office from fines and forfeitures and all. But they're limited to what they can fund with it, and it has to be related to the drug and substance abuse and that kind of thing. So what I'm saying is, I know the $1,250 is covered. Can be covered through the date fund. I don't know that we have any funds to do anything else unless somebody else has any suggestions.
Madam Chair, we have funded this before.
Yes.
Several times, and unfortunately, the cost has gone up, and I know we funded for 7,000
last year.
So that was last year and the year before. I think for the past 3 years that we funded this, we funded right at 7,000. So may I ask what is so different now? What would be the criteria?
I'm not sure. All we got, Ms. Irizarry and Mr. Bill can tell you that.
How did we fund it then, Mr. Bill?
It was funded through the date fund.
But I believe,
7,000?
if I remember right, what was brought before us last year did not have the breakdown as far as stem cell, all these types of things where this particular schedule does. So therefore, by putting it into a specific area and saying that to educate these kids for the drug and substance abuse prevention, and that's the $1,250, that's what actually puts this into the $1,250 only being allowed out of the date fund by what is allowed by the state.
But yes, I did that. There was, this budget was exactly the same except for the stem cell. This budget was exactly the same, and that was the only thing I added in because of my drug prevention education experience and everything, because I am certified. And everything that I'll be teaching, they will be getting that experience daily.
That's what I'm saying, that meets the criteria. We don't really have a say as to what can be spent out of the date fund. We can only, that comes from the sheriff, but he's regulated as to what it can be. And like I said, I don't know how it was done last year, what happened or whatever, but I know that was the message that was given to me, was that the $1,250 is all that he can legally give through the date fund. Now, up to the board what else we do, but if we do for one program, we got to be prepared to do for other programs. So I'll leave it to what.
Well, I would like to know how did we do it previously? I mean, even if you go back and look at the other budget when Ms. Ball was doing it, the breakdown is almost the same. So, Mr. Bill, I know you're the one who not authorized, we vote on it. What is so different about the proposal now than what it was 4 or 5 years ago?
The main thing is the amount of money.
Well, we know that because the cost, like we've been talking all day, everything's gone up. But we've given them $7,000 for the past, prior to COVID. So what is so different now?
I think last year was the first year we got a breakdown on the budget though, because we asked for that and asked for you to come back and give us, or before you came to give us a breakdown of the budget. Before, it's just been a flat amount. And like I said, I don't know. I think the only thing to be taken from the date fund and will be $1,250 is what the information that was given to me. So
That's the same information I got from the sheriff's office as well.
Okay, so.
and I think they did it, but I don't say this, I don't think they were supposed to. I mean, I hate to.
He had reservations last year about doing it.
Because it does not meet the criteria that is set forth through the date fund.
And we were only able to vote on it based on what was allowed from those funds per the sheriff.
So we gave $7,000 last time, but if we go back and look at the proposal that Ms. Beverly Ball gave and compare it to this same outline, it's not any different. And I could be wrong, but I would like to see a copy of that as how we were able to do that and we can't do anything now.
I don't think, we didn't get a breakdown until last year.
Miss
Last year
Beverly's was 5,000 every year.
She just had a flat amount and she told what she was gonna do. It was last year that we asked for a breakdown. That's when we asked, would the school board, cover, because I mean, we'd be paying the school board to rent for them.
That was another issue the sheriff raised, that how much is the school board participating in this
I
program?
mean,
We brought that up last year
Yeah, I
too,
said
that
that we
we're
brought
giving this
that up.
chunk of money, but the government's paying the government. So the school board is coming out ahead of it with the 1,943, that if we gave the entire amount, we'd be paying from our funds to their funds, same thing. They should really look at giving that for free.
I mean, we can't make them do
Well,
that.
I can understand that, but I'm going to definitely emphasize how important it is to have some type of program for these young people.
I don't doubt the
And,
importance of it at all.
we've got to, if we don't have something for these young people to do in the summer, it's going to be detrimental. And because of the pandemic for the past 2 years, our kids are already 2 years, some are 3 years behind. So I know it's not something that this board directly should have a voice on. It should be a community thing, but we've got to figure out how can we bring effective programs to keep our young people engaged and keep them active so that they're ready for the next school year. So
I don't disagree at all.
And I do remember you saying when we had questions last time that you do get money from other funding. But this is the total of the entire program.
Yes.
But you do get money from other funding besides us.
No, what it was with Miss Beverly, that's the way she was doing it, and the reason was because pre-COVID, we had a plan, of course, then, and that was the thing, and just like, now I'm just still trying to make sure, like I said, with inflation, and make sure we have a plan. It's still gonna be something that's probably gonna be not until next year.
What was last year's request?
It was 15, and we were going on field trips then, but so we cut everything out.
but you wind up getting 7,000.
Yes, we did.
So you asked for 15, but you only got 7.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure why, have you addressed anything to the school board?
No, I have not. I just got approved.
I have always wondered why the school board felt necessary to charge for the building, but that's their choice as a board.
You know, unless Mr. Bill can tell us, you know, a way within our own money that we can contribute something. I mean, the only thing is, I mean, we have to be prepared for any other group that wants to do the same thing. I'm not saying there will be, there may not be anybody.
These programs are covered under our guidelines, but like you said, if you do it for one, possibility in the future that it'll be lined up at the door.
Is there any funding out of our recreation budget? Since this still falls within recreation, it is also still for activities, so how's our recreation budget looking?
Money, special projects and used for that.
Under the special project under rec? Can we look and see how much money is in that project? In that line item? Or do you know, I'm sure you don't know that off the top of your head. Can you look into that?
I certainly can. Been doing some work out at Lake Meriwether. Excuse me. We have been using those line items for work out at Lake Meriwether, so it's not the full. I think we budgeted 10,000 for special projects and 10,000 for other equipment or needs, but we have been using those line items, so I don't know how much we've got left in there.
And
It's
also,
under recreation.
it's under recreation. So also, as far as not having as many recreation activity due to COVID, and we've not had to pay out as much salary, I would think there would be some additional funds on those line items, not to know, unless you share that with us.
Yeah, I think we funded three part-time positions, one in Woodbury, one in Luthersville, and one in, excuse me, one in Greenville that we have not filled. So there's, you know, that's some excess
So that's an
money there.
option.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. You know, I'm one for being creative and looking at options and whatever we can do. I understand the concern for the money for the date fund. I understand opera fund can be used, but opera fund is limited to some degree, but it does qualify. But I would like for us to look at recreation.
I will say this, we've had other individuals come before us and ask for money for programs too that we have not moved forward with. So if we do that and pull it from a special project availability like the recreation, I do worry that we have turned some down that have come before us, that if we're opening ourselves up for depleting a lot of special project funds.
I understand that, but it would be something different if this has been an ongoing project. Ms. Ball has been doing this for over 15 years, and to not be able to provide this service at this stage of where we're at in our community with our young people, I think would be really shameful. Now, how we get it done, I don't know. I'm open to any suggestions. You know, maybe go to the school board and talk to them and see, because I know they've received opera funds for lost learning. So that's an option there. But to just, you know, you're not saying totally take it off the.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying we got to come up with a way, either suggestions of things they can do, because that's what I went through and marked, and I marked BOE on a couple of them. I did wonder about if you got volunteers, then paying volunteers.
me
I
too.
did wonder about that, $2,700 for that. If they're volunteers, you don't typically pay them. So I did wonder about that. You know, and there might be, you know, I don't know if the county could even, on the cleaning supplies, I mean, could that be an in-kind thing, and we give some Clorox and disinfectant tissues as, I mean, I'm just mentioning that, okay?
Well, the volunteers, and maybe the way you worded it, maybe looked at that, but they do have a lot of young people who have, it's like a summer program for them, and they get a stipend. So, you know, once again, we're trying to create young people with a sense of community, with a sense of volunteering, and just be engaged. And if counties don't offer something, or cities don't offer something where these kids can stay engaged, we're really hurting ourselves and our next generation of leaders in this community. And I know you all know this, it's just that how do we make this feasible? How do we make this available dollar-wise?
And I mean, you know, under recreation, if we wanted to, within our budget, have a certain amount that is for programs, and it be a first come, first serve, or an application process, you know, you get your application in, we review it, still, somebody's probably not gonna get it. But we're gonna have a fair way to open it up to everybody. Like I said, nobody's gonna come with us, I can only think of one other that's in the county that has this kind of longevity. And I don't know that they would come and ask for anything anyway, but I can only think of one other. But I mean, they have a great record, and what they've done is good. But I said, we got to figure out what we can do or how we can do. Like I said, and hopefully the school board would do something. I mean, I don't know. We can't speak for them.
So being a nonprofit, you still have to pay the 3,600 liability. You don't have your own insurance, liability insurance under that.
Oh, no, that would be a lot for that to happen.
So this,
And Ms. Beverly, they never did that.
this 3,600 would be paid to the school board?
No,
No,
the insurance company.
that's liability.
insurance. Yes, you have to have your own to cover you and the amount of participants.
1,943 for the rental of the building.
But I guess it's all this, it would be to cover, well, I guess y'all take trips too. The liability with that. I don't know. I mean,
How many volunteers do you have? Staff, the junior staffers, how many of those do you have?
We have one just graduated college. There would be about 4 or 5, probably, if not more. It just depends on how many you sign up, and that's how I get them. But the people that come back from Asia.
When does this start?
June the 28th.
June the 28th?
you said August 4th?
Yeah.
I mean, do y'all want Mr. Bill or somebody to look up, see what we got in recreation that might be used, or the ARPA, or come up with some kind of plan? If we're gonna do something to recreation, we're gonna have something in place where people can apply or
Yeah.
whatever, you know, going forward.
Because we have denied several other individuals that come up for programs.
I said, everybody doesn't come with this kind of reputation, I'd say.
I'd like to actually make a motion that we table this until the first meeting in June, that since it doesn't start till the end of June, that'll give us time to maybe look into it and discuss amongst ourselves what we may can come up with. But during that time, I'd also like you to go back to the school board and ask them to get rid of that 1943.
That's an interesting motion. Ask her. Maybe we need to go talk to the school.
We can't do that, it's not our stuff.
I mean, we can ask, just like she's a citizen, we
No,
can ask.
but this is their program, not ours. We can't ask them to
Okay,
remove
I
that.
understand,
And you know the 1250 could be covered, so we know that. I know that's just a drop in the bucket for the whole thing, but you know that can easily be covered through the date fund.
I think we just need to think and try to figure it out.
Yes, Ms. Hines always said, think outside the box. I mean, that's the only thing I know to do, to try to come up with something,
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor? All right, next, we have Representative Buckner here, who had offered to give a legislative update, and we also have Senator Randy Robertson here, and I know y'all got some people with you too. I don't know if y'all want to tell who you got with you or what's going on.
We did bring the crowd.
It's top secret.
We have a very special guest tonight. We have a brand-new Georgia Department of Transportation board member. These are elected at the legislature every 4 years, 5 years. I knew that didn't sound right when I said it. I apologize. So this is the first time that you'll have a chance to meet your new DOT board member if you haven't already met him. And if you'd like to come up, Mr. Dennis McIntyre, he's actually from Noonan, so he's familiar with this area. I think he actually worked in Manchester at one time. And so we are proud and glad to have him here and wanted to give him an opportunity to meet you and you meet him and that kind of thing. So if he can have a minute to say hello and then we'll go to the next two. Welcome.
Thank you. I will take a minute to say hello. I'd like to say more than that, but I've only been on the job about a month, so I have nothing else to say. But I live in Noonan. Worked for Noonan Utilities for the last 33 years. Prior to that, I worked for Georgia Power. My wife and I lived in Manchester for 6 years and loved every minute of it. Still have great friends there. So I look forward to working with you any way that I can. Y'all stole their engaged from us several years ago. I stay in touch with him. Anything I can do to help you with your DOT needs, I'd be glad to work with you. So thank you.
Probably got some things we can talk to you about.
I was about to say, Madam Chair, he had came to our work session.
How much time do you have?
How much time do you have?
That is actually a great segue. And
You're welcome for sure.
yes, so the next two guests that I wanted to introduce is Tyler Peake, who I think many of you have had the opportunity of working with, and he always does a great job. And I had asked him if he would come and give us a report on the bridge in the Warm Springs area, because it seems to be a project that never wants to go away and be finished. But he has some new news, and he also brought with him Keenan Ford, who is the area engineer. No, I did that wrong. District construction engineer. So they will share with you about that and a couple of other projects. And then Senator Robertson and I will tell you what happened at the legislature, and we'll try to do it in tag team fashion as quick as possible. And we pick things that directly relate to the county and the functioning of the county as much as possible. So I'm going to turn it over to Tyler. And
good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. As Representative Buckner said, I'm Tyler Peake. I work with Georgia DOT, as does Keenan. We both work in Thomaston out of the district headquarters. It's 31 counties in West Central Georgia. So you all have interacted with different members of our team over the years, and so it's good to see some familiar faces again tonight. But wanted to bring you up to speed a little bit on the One Bridge project that everybody knows about in Meriwether County and in this region, as well as a few others that are sort of in the pike and haven't come down yet. But as you know, we've experienced a lot of delay on the project. That's no surprise to everyone. And we continue to see that. We've had issues primarily with the fabrication of steel beams. That bridge is a steel bridge that's going back in there to carry the railroad over Highway 41, State Road 41 to us. And so we've had issues with getting beams that meet specification, not just for the department, but for the railroad. So there's sort of that added component of coordination where any specs on that project have to meet both agencies' standards. So there's a little bit of extra involved there. We're now experiencing some issues with material shortage. Steel is in short supply everywhere across the nation. So where we're at kind of with the status and the climate of the project, 2 beams have been installed, and that was a while back. There are 2 others that have been approved and manufactured. We still have 2 remaining that have to be manufactured and then approved. We have had some manufactured that were not approved, and that's been some of the back and forth issue we've had. At this point, the reason there's no activity is until we get all of those beams fabricated and approved, that's when the contractor will begin work. So that's really why you're not seeing any activity right now. As far as a time frame, once we have the remaining 2, so that'll be a total of 6 then, 2 that are installed and then 4 that would be not installed but approved. Once they have those remaining 2, we're looking at approximately an 18-month time frame to get it completed. So I realize that's not exciting news, and what we don't have for you is when will those 2 be approved? I don't have that date to be able to share. We are regularly engaged with the contractor, with the manufacturer to get us to that point. This is something we're seeing across the state, so it's not just this location. This is just one in this region that's most significant because of the fact that it's been the road's been closed for quite a while. So not exciting news to say, hey, here's the day and it's next week. But I did want to provide that update. Keenan, his team works very closely with our contractors on all projects throughout our district, and this being one of them that's obviously very critical due to the schedule. So glad to take any questions or any ideas that you might have. We worked, I know, with you all and with Warm Springs over the last few years to look at ways to try to help with the impacts of having a road closed. I know Jute Line is utilized by local traffic, and then there's been signage to try to help people know that you can still go to Warm Springs. We just want commercial traffic to use the detour. So we're open to suggestions or ideas of how to maybe help continue to mitigate that. I know most recently, within the last probably 6 months or so, we put an always stop at Jute Line and 41 because of just concerns with a lot more traffic, local traffic turning out of Jute Line. And from what I understand, that's working well. So again, just looking for ways we can help mitigate what's not a desirable situation and do the best we can to address those issues.
What are the size of those beams?
The size of the beams?
Roughly? That's okay. I was just gonna say, we have 4 metal beams that are 90 foot long. If y'all want them, you can get
It would be helpful. We have strict regulations on
I know, I was just kidding.
Well, I mean, it's nice to have some information because, as you can imagine, we're questioned on this quite often. But I tell you, one of the biggest problems we have right now are the trucks using Jute Line. They disregard the signage completely. They've had times when the sheriff's office and Warm Springs Police Department have stopped numerous of them and even written some citations, but they will not stay off of that road. And we've talked to, and it's the GDOT compliant, whatever the enforcement, they've come down maybe once or twice, but then we don't see them for a long time. And they're gonna tear the road up for one thing. And then they got to make that sharp turn to come out of Jute Line. It's just dangerous, but they won't stay off of it. And I get calls at least a couple of times a week of folks complaining. They try to take pictures and get tag numbers, and they've been successful on some of it, but usually, they're going in the opposite direction, so they don't get a lot of information. But it's a huge issue.
Well,
and we got at least 18 more months of this. The road will probably have to be redone in that time.
Yeah, and we can have that discussion too about the road condition once we get to that point as well. Certainly we don't want to leave you all with something that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about even folks have to use now. So we could, any help we could get for enforcement on that, because it's just, they spin around that roundabout and just come on to Warm Springs.
And I spoke to the colonel, the Georgia State Patrol, and they did a little bit while this is continuing to be a problem right section now. So we get motor carrier compliance and make it a mission. And we go up there and you gotta understand, I know you do, that citation to a commercial trucker is much worse than that same citation to someone in a passenger vehicle. So I don't think it's gonna take a few citations for the message to get through that industry.
Well, so that's what I thought. I figured they'd be telling all their buddies, you better not go that way, but there were some citations given, but obviously it didn't, the memory faded quickly, I think.
I'll work with Tom and take care of that.
That would be great. Pretty great. But we also have Forest Road that's the same issue with the trucks. They coming off the interstate, they get with accidents and the interstate gets shut down and they take our county road instead of the state route. And Forest Road, you heard the discussion about Forest Road. It's in complete disrepair now. And then we get tons of truck traffic on it. So it's the same way.
Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions. Where are we with Coleman Creek?
Coleman Creek, so that was my next one, actually my second one, I think, after that, talk about. That lets to construction in the next fiscal year, which for us starts in July. So right now it's a August let date where that'll be bid out. Now that will involve a 6-month closure. So the traffic would be detoured on Georgia 100 and then up Georgia 54, the commercial traffic. You know, local traffic can take, other routes.
Why are you looking at me like that?
You have to look like you're gonna ask, we're gonna get into the same thing. So we're looking at building this bridge a little bit differently. Well, we have materials more readily available.
Okay.
So you just had to look like you're gonna ask.
I know when you said 6-month closure, I wrote that down.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. And the reason that I want to know, just like the situation in Warm Springs, 100 is used a lot. 54 is used a lot. We already have a problem with people on Luthersville Road. We put up the signs, and so highway, when I don't know what's happening between Moreland and a LaGrange exit on the interstate. It just shuts down at least 3 times a week. And so instead of people staying on 54, coming to Luthersville and then getting on Roosevelt Highway or 27, they're cutting through. We've put up the signage. Unfortunately, we do not get the chance to get enforcement there the way we need to, because it's kind of hard. But when you talk about this 6 months in detouring, that's going to be a major impact. And I would like to see what that detour is going to look like as much in advance, because it's a very heavily trafficked area with loggers and everything. So that's going to be a major impact.
I'd like to point out too, when you get to Luthersville, a tractor trailer trying to make that hard right on 54 to head down to 100, it will be impossible. I don't know how you're gonna manage that traffic. I mean, you almost gonna need to detour them from the interstate. Well, if the interstate's closed, what will the GDOT do then? I mean, and I'm sincere when I say that.
Sure.
It's not gonna be pretty.
Okay, so
Either way, either turn in Luthersville at the red light will be very hard with the tractor trailer, in my opinion.
Well, we can take a look at that location as well. I know normally, so on a project like this, before we even get to this point where we're, ready to bid it out in August, there's detour meetings, there's concept discussions about, alternatives, and always an alternative for us with the bridge is build a temporary side by side. But, that comes at an expense. And sometimes there's environmental or other constraints that make that absolutely cost prohibitive. So, and, it's bridge funding. So if we spend double on one bridge, then that's less money to go for another bridge somewhere else. So those are some of the trade-offs we have to look at. But in Luthersville, we can certainly take a look at that specific location. There's ways to mitigate that as well. I don't know that there is, but for us to take that into consideration.
Because even currently now, Mayor Cuddy, who's the mayor of Luthersville, is talking the damage right there at that traffic light. There's a building that they were, right when I'm talking about, it's renovated, but because of the amount of traffic, they've already torn up that whole sidewalk area and turning. So, all I'm asking is, stay in communication with us as well. And I'm sure you're going to do the traffic studies, but no matter how it's done, it's going to have a major impact on this county when you get ready to do Coleman Creek.
So
hopefully it won't last as long as this one did in Warm Springs.
He said 6 months.
Well, we're looking to kind of Keenan's point about the type of construction too. We're looking at concrete beams versus steel. So that makes a big difference. I mean, material supply shortages exist for nearly everything right now. But that being the case, when we're looking at bridges, concrete beams, we experience a lot less delay with that than with steel. The other project, there were 2 others. One is a local road, Dan Stribling Road. That bridge replacement project is scheduled to let.
Which one is that?
Dan Stribling Road, it's over the railroad as well.
Bridge.
Yeah. That's right. And that's scheduled to go to bid in June of this year. And then the last bridge project is that's coming up soon. There's several others that are 3 or 4 fiscal years out, but this is actually in Greenville in the city, the railroad bridge headed towards LaGrange. You can see it from the square. That will be also in this coming fiscal year. Now, it's also a detour, but we're going to stagger the Coleman Creek and the 109 bridge to where the detours aren't simultaneous.
Thank you.
Because they both use 100 as their detour route. So
I'm saying.
those can be we can stage those to where we can lessen that impact.
Okay, that impact. Okay, that sounds.
And I think the only other project update really is not a bridge project. It's Judson Bullock Road between where crosses 41 between.
I saw that in the legal notices.
So that is a very late fiscal year 23 or early 24 bid date. So that'll be a roundabout for that intersection. So you're looking at probably a little over a year from now, seeing that go out to bid. So right-of-way has not quite yet been authorized for that. So unless there's any, as long as we don't experience any delays in the right-of-way acquisition, that should still move forward in the next probably 15 months or so.
Peake, how far out are your projects? Are they 5 years, 10 years?
So as far as funding, it's usually current year plus 4. That's what's in the STIP, Statewide Transportation Improvement Program. That STIP gets updated on regular cycles though. So we're looking at next year doing another update to the STIP. So right now what we have funding commitment for is through FY25. Anything that's beyond 25 is still a little bit undetermined. So as we go through that process again next year, in the next fiscal year, we'll be advancing that through 27. So that being said, we have a lot of projects on the books with a bid date, but the funding might be further out. And what that means is we're working towards a certain schedule, but funding may not have been allocated yet for that project. So it's a way for us to, especially a project like a bridge or widening, we can have it in the program, have activities being done, but still funding may be further out. So there's a few other bridges, I think 3 other in the county, but those are all like FY27, 26, 27 projects.
I think that's, I'm not sure, what the one in Durand, you might Mitcham Road Bridge.
Mitcham Road?
The longer you stand there, the more they'll think of it.
Well, no, it's going over I know we got to deal with the railroad on that one.
Let's see. I don't have that one. I don't see that one in our list of projects, but I can check on that. Mitcham Road. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. So it could be typically when that happens, you know, we look at prioritizing that based on other bridges because there's a couple other county road bridges that are in the program already.
With Mitchell Road, and like I said, I understand it'll be out of ways, but trains invariably block the crossings in Durand, and that same one most of the time stretches all the way to Jute Line. So if you're blocked trying to come from Greenville, Warm Springs, whatever, the only way you could get around it was to go across the Mitcham Bridge Road, and now it's shut down. It's closed. Well, GDOT came in and had some issues with it, and then there was a wreck that messed up some of the bridge too after that. But that was the only way you could bypass and get anywhere, emergency vehicles or anybody, because they invariably block both of those crossings at the same time. Yeah, it's just a real issue. I mean, the trains, and you know, we even have them. I was through there the other day, and I mean, I literally could see the front of the train, and it was stopped over here. The crossing was right here, but it was time to swap out. Engineers.
Well, I think let's, Bill, if you and I can maybe talk about that one, just as far as there might be, sometimes there's opportunities for us to do some rehab work. I don't know if that's already been done or not, but we can at least explore that as well. Gotcha.
Like I So I know he's been working on, trying to get some information from the
Yeah,
railroad.
we'll check on
too.
that and see if
It's
there's
just
a
an
way to.
issue, just a safety issue as much as anything. You
Sure.
can't get to that end of the county. I appreciate all the information, and I know we probably.
Well,
give you a
I'm
hard
sorry it's
time.
not,
And look, we
exciting
really do
news that we can all
understand
get-
about the supplies and all that. I mean, we do, but we do appreciate the
Sure. Well,
updates.
we'll keep you all informed as we move forward. And once we have a start date and begin that 18 months, we'll be sure to let you know.
All right, thank you.
Or sooner.
That's right.
I don't know if this would be initiation or hazing, but if you have any other questions from constituents, you can call.
I said, we probably need to get your phone number.
Our new DOT board member. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for the work that you're doing. I won't take but a minute, and then we'll share time, but I do want to follow up with your mention about the railroad and the crossings and the blocking of the crossings. We had a meeting here in Meriwether County because there had been some very long delays of blocking all of the crossings in Gay. We had in Talbot County, Woodland was blocked, 3 crossings there, and in Taubleton, 2 crossings, and they were from like 24 to 72 hours. So the railroad did come and meet with us at the chamber in Warm Springs, and they worked with us, and we asked for 3 things, and they have been fairly good about adhering to what we agreed to. We asked them if we could provide them with the name of one road that we never wanted blocked for extended periods of time. We asked them that if they were doing repair work, that they wouldn't shut down all the crossings, which is more economical for them to just do a little here, a little here, a little here, go back, and they will fix one and then the next one, and they won't have but one closed at the time. And then the third thing we asked for was that if they had no other option than to block a crossing, that they do what they call split the crossing, where they uncouple the cars and give us access back with cars. They agreed to all of that in our area, and they have been trying to do that. To their defense, although I'm not here to defend them based on the calls I get at all days and times of day and night, and from interesting people that are in power that don't take no for an answer. They have a shortage of workers. I know in at least one of the cases that we had in Talbot County, the crew that came had to come from Jacksonville, Florida. They have trains that they legally can have about 2.5 miles long, and their side tracks aren't but a mile long in most cases. So and we're seeing an increase in usage of the trains because of the port. So all of that's coming to form a kind of a perfect storm. So during the legislative session, I serve as vice chair of the Rural Caucus, which is a caucus of House and Senate members, Democrats and Republicans. And we were talking about how it's a problem not just in Meriwether and Talbot County, but Waycross and Brooklet, Georgia, and all over Milledgeville. There were 50 representatives and senators that had similar problems in their area. We wrote a letter from the Rural Caucus to the governor, and he is having his staffers, transportation staffers, meet with some of us next week. We're asking him to ask the railroad for the same thing that we asked for here in Meriwether County for the state, to be able to split those crossings, not tear up all of the crossings at one time, to do repairs, do one at the time, and to make sure that they give us the opportunity to pick a road. And I will just make this one caveat. I picked a road for one of my cities that they're not happy with. So talk to your mayors, and your county commissioners need to talk together and make sure that you can decide on that one road that you want open, because they want 2 open in Woodland. You'd appreciate that, Beth.
There's not but 2 now.
There's 3.
Where's the third one?
It's
Out Pleasant Valley Road?
Pleasant Valley.
Okay.
They want Pleasant Valley left open. Thank you for helping me out. But that's all I know about transportation right now, but those are the things that we're gonna ask for and see if they can work with us on that. The railroad does have quite a bit of power and authority, so they're hard to work with at times. I will just say that, as you know, today's election day, and in the House, we have 130 of the 180 seats up for potential change, with people running, having opposition. So I guess you'd say they're up for grabs. And during this past legislative session, we passed 133 House bills and House resolutions that went to final passage. That was down just a little bit because there were so many local bills that passed. There was an awful lot of charters being rewritten, redistricting was being done. There was just a lot of administrative work in the local legislation arena, so there were a number of bills. We passed a budget that was $30.2 billion for fiscal year 2023. We put $11.8 billion in the K-12 education, and we put $148.9 million in mental health and law enforcement. And I'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. One of the other things that we did for Meriwether County in local legislation was to, at the request of the school board, they had not had an increase in the per diem for their board members in a number of years. It had been voted on by their board, and that was put into legislation, and it passed and was signed by the governor, and so that will be a change coming for your school board members. There were some really good things added in the budget that I think we have, of course, given the pay raise to the teachers as promised. State employees were given a $5,000 cost of living adjustment, which they had not had an increase since 2008. So that was needed. We found through the budget hearings that we had some departments within the state that had a 97% turnover rate. So most of that has to do with the fact that the state was not paying its fair share of good wages to keep people. And so that we were trying to address that. The other thing that we have done in some of the agencies, law enforcement, health, and EPD, is provided an opportunity for some bumps in salaries for people that are highly technical, to try to be sure that we can hold on to them, rather than training them, getting them a really good resume, and then they go off to work for private enterprise for a much bigger salary. The mental health bill was House Bill 1013. It had a large number of appropriations attached to it. Basically, what we wanted to do with the mental health bill, and did do with the passage of it, was to make mental health have parity with physical health. So we have not done that in Georgia legally and or through law, and that will be hopefully very helpful for people to get the care that they need. It instituted some funding and some opportunities for training for law enforcement. And one of the things that connects Senator Robertson and I is that we worked with NAMI, an organization for mental health in Columbus, to do training of the law enforcement. And it's been very effective in helping our law enforcement officers kind of be able to tell the difference in how to de-escalate, what are some of the triggers, and how to kind of make it where we can kind of calm down the situation a little bit. The #1 provider of mental health care in our state, unfortunately right now, is through our state prisons and our county jails. So we have got to get it in an appropriate place. The other thing the bill does is it works on workforce and training, not just for people that are hired by the state, but to help us figure out how we can get people interested in becoming mental health care providers, and provide some scholarships for that, to provide grants and opportunities for our educational institutions to provide more classes and more slots in the classes that they have. We talk a lot about committing people to mental health hospitals, but the idea came about that we need some outpatient services that are available. So assisted outpatient commitment type services, they can be told by law enforcement, you need help, you need to go to this outpatient facility, and that would be part of their, not sentence, but sort of their sentence. This could be for voluntary and involuntary. There were within the bill, there was also a great deal of money, and there were also some new directives for our mental health courts and for the Department of Corrections for child and adolescent behavior health. And there's also a commission that's been established for behavioral health reform and innovations. So hopefully we will move from being where we are right now with not very many options to better options and more comprehensive options. One of the other things that I think has been, since we've been talking so much about transportation, we did pass a law that removed the motor fuel tax until May the 31st. It's my understanding that the discussions are going on for the governor to extend that. If you have groaned at paying for gas at the pump, just add, what is it, 29 cents a gallon to what you've paid, and you can say, well, at least I'm thankful for that. The other thing that I think has been a really good thing is that we did also do an income tax cut for the state of Georgia that will amount to, over time, $1.6 billion going back to Georgia taxpayers. And this money will eliminate personal income tax brackets and replace it with a flat tax at a rate of 5.49%. Over time, if the environment, the economy, and the revenues to the state are such that we can afford it, they can go down to 4.99 with this bill. Their personal exemptions are being increased over time as well, but this is the single exemption that's $2,700 can eventually, with all things going the right way, up to $12,000 at some point. So it's just given a roadmap for how we can really decrease the income tax for hardworking Georgians. And there will be a review by the Senate Finance Committee and the House Ways and Means Committee every year to make sure we're not putting the state at jeopardy of running these, we'll run the numbers, make sure that we're not cutting too much to not have what we need to carry on the business of the state. Because we have a rural hospital in Meriwether County, I want you to know that they renewed the rural hospital tax credit. This has worked well in other communities where people have donated money to this program. They got a tax break and the hospital got money that they needed to stay fully funded. So we have shared that with the hospital, and we're looking for rich people that want to do that. So the other thing that I think that is a tribute to Meriwether County, and that it was brought to my attention by someone in this very room that there was a problem with the way that when guns are sold, that the background check had a flaw in it. If someone had been committed to a mental health hospital in Georgia, we were the only state in the United States that allowed the computer at the end of 5 years after they left the mental health hospital to purge the list and say it was okay for them to get a gun. Now, we will have a process where if someone was involuntarily committed to a mental health hospital, in order to get a gun after they get out of the hospital, there is a due process that they go through to get their gun rights back. Gun rights were the only rights that are taken away from people. Voting, driver's license, everything else, it was a process you had to go through. And now you'll have to for guns, but it's if you've been involuntarily committed and hospitalized. And that was a situation that came up in this county, was brought to my attention. It took a while to get it fixed, but it did pass and was signed by the governor. So there are many other things, but I don't want to take too much time, and you've been incredibly patient. So come on up and tell what you want to tell about the Senate. The Senate did some good work too.
Well, remember,
in the Senate, there's only 56 of us, and in the House, there's 180, so they don't get to talk that often, so I wanted Debbie to enjoy herself.
My husband will be great with all that.
Yeah. Really, the only thing to tie on to what Debbie was, what Representative Buckner was talking about is the polls are closed. But I want to tell you, the positive about it is the way that we handled COVID here in Georgia was so incredibly, the results showed when we got to Atlanta, there was almost $4 billion there, as opposed to the states that shut completely down. We didn't close churches. We didn't close many small businesses. We had processes set up for those businesses that were negatively impacted. We executed a relationship with the National Guard that was a model used around the country, where we sent them into the assisted care homes and allowed them to clean and do all this other stuff. I do not discount the damage that COVID did here in our country, because we know it did, especially to those at-risk populations. But when we pick up the newspaper, we hear a whole lot of positives about our friends to the south and to our friends over in Texas. But I'll tell you right now, we have the lowest unemployment rate of any large state in the United States of America. We have created more jobs over the past 3 years than any of these other big states. And so y'all know about the Hyundai plant coming. And believe me, the Hyundai plant over there by Savannah is a boom for us because of the parts suppliers here that sit right in the middle of the district that impact primarily Meriwether, Troup, and Harris counties. So we're in good shape there. But on top of that, Debbie talking about, Representative Buckner, we were friends before we were colleagues, I'll tell y'all. Been friends for many, many years. But where she was talking about all the positives where we were able to send money back and put into the pockets. One of the demographics that we were able to really help were our retired military. If you retire from the military, you automatically now get $17,500 in non-taxable income. But if you get a job, you get an additional $17,500. The average retired military person in Georgia gets $40,000 in retirement. So what we've done is we have tax exempted $35,000 of that. And there are plenty of other loopholes and advantages to get the other $5,000. So we used a model that has been successful in South Carolina, and we used it here in Georgia. So now when individuals retire here in the military, they're not looking to move to Alabama, South Carolina, or Florida. We're able to keep those skills here because even though our unemployment rates are low and all this other kind of stuff, we still have jobs that need to be filled. I was at a textile plant in the district this morning, one of the last, and they would hire 80 people today in well-paying jobs. And these are jobs that a lot of our young people that made grades like I made when I was in high school would be very happy to get out and go and work and get the benefits and all. And during this session, that was a part of the conversation because COVID, even though we are exiting, was in every room we talked, we did anything about, because we have been punched and we realize that we have to be ready next time. And I think we were very good stewards with the money, because I always like to point out our primary responsibility when we get up to Atlanta is to pass a balanced budget, because our Constitution requires it. Realistically, we could go up there, pass a budget, and go home, and we have fulfilled our responsibility. But there's always a few folks that want to bring up some legislation, and Representative Buckner threw some number out. So I'll just tell you to compare with what she did and our 56. Over on our side, we had 328 bills introduced by senators. We had 846 bills introduced by House members over on our side. And using wisdom and all this other stuff, we passed 76 Senate bills and 12 House bills. But they were a lot of good bills. And one thing I want to give Representative Buckner, again, we've been friends for a long time. We've had some issues here in Meriwether County with vocational rehabilitation. And she and I have both went head on with that. There's a new director that's over that area that impacts Roosevelt. Representative Buckner and I minced no words when we explained the value of that facility here in Meriwether County. I think we are making some headway. We've actually, without a doubt, we made waves and made them understand. We met with the governor's office on 2 occasions. And so we're keeping our foot on the gas on that to make sure that the attention that is necessary is given to vocational rehab, but also to the employees that live and work in Meriwether County. Neither one of us will stand by and allow our local citizens, neighbors, and friends to be mistreated by the state of Georgia. So I want to make sure that y'all understand that asset's extremely important to us. And on the tax credit side, Less Crime Act was also passed. That was something on Lieutenant Governor Duncan's agenda. And what that does is those individuals in the community who feel philanthropic and have quite a bit of money, like many of you on the county commission do, if you feel so led to donate to the local law enforcement agencies, then that money is all, you will also be given a tax credit for that. And
what's the maximum?
I'll look while you're getting your checkbook out. I want to make sure I tell you exactly right.
I didn't mean to throw you off.
Oh, you throw me off. I marked it, but I'm looking to see where they stuck it in this beautiful handout. I'll get that for you. I'll be honest with you. For some reason, 10,000 is stuck in my mind. And so, and then again, some of the more controversial things, Parents' Bill of Rights that we've all heard about, basically just to make sure that parents understand that they have a responsibility to be involved in their children's education. I've been involved in a couple of programs throughout the county or throughout the district where a group of men have been asked to go in and read report cards with students whose moms and dads tend to sign them and just send them back to school. But those of us who have, understand the importance of a high school education have had the opportunities to go in there, and the Parents' Bill of Rights, I think, puts the light back on the responsibility of the parent for taking charge of their child's education. We put a tremendous amount of responsibility on teachers that I think go beyond what we pay. I'm blessed enough to be the chairman of the Senate Retirement Committee that's over all the state retirement systems. And while we look at TRS and know that our teachers have a great retirement plan, the volatile stock market that we're dealing with right now is up and down. We've got a subcommittee that I've called. We'll be meeting 4 times over the summer to address benefits for janitors, bus drivers, and cafeteria workers also, to try to help those within our public schools to get to where they need to be. There's another study committee we'll be on dealing with the electrification of Georgia and the impact that's going to have. And Meriwether already in our district, we have some infrastructure put over on the Ray. I had the opportunity to ride in a semi-autonomous vehicle the other day. I was not extremely comfortable, but I was mesmerized by the technology that these road closures and other things will be telegraphed to individuals in their own vehicles before they get there. And while I think this technology, I assume this technology was much further down the road, it is in our house. And so it's something we've got to look at. And there's also Georgia High School Athletic Study Committee that will be starting here shortly, and others. But I think everything is going great. And as far as the redistricting goes, there was controversy in every part of my district, but a lot of it was just understanding the maps, understanding the shifts, and making sure that everything complied with the Voters' Rights Act, in which we were able to accomplish that. And during that process, I was able to have the rest of Troup County added into District 29 because of redistricting. So as your senator now, I represent all of Meriwether, all of Harris, all of Troup, and continue to represent half of that other county a little further south where Columbus resides. But I appreciate the support during the process. I received phone calls from folks happy and not happy, and I understand that's my role, and I appreciate that and the partnership that I have with Representative Buckner. Thank y'all, and of course, any questions, I'll be happy to let Representative Buckner answer.
Madam Chair, I do have, not so much a question, but well, I do, a question. That mental health bill, is that 1013? Is that, okay. And in that bill, I think you mentioned something about promoting people to want to get into mental health as far as an occupation. I would like to recommend that we look this as a pathway in our school system as well as a class, because I think some people don't all know the different areas that you can learn in mental health. The other thing I wanted to ask, a while back, we talked about having a clinic brought here to Meriwether County for healthy babies. Where is that?
There was a change in the funding opportunity, and then during COVID, it all kind of,
The $500,000, the line that they were gonna do the Healthy Mother, Healthy Baby with, it got moved over into community health. But what we're working with now is that even though the line is in community health, the funds still need to be used for that reason, Healthy Mother, Healthy Baby. And so that was the last conversation I had several weeks ago with Andy and their.
Are we still looking at bringing it to Meriwether County though?
The money, the funding, to be able to do it through the, go ahead.
I was gonna say, hopefully it will come. I don't know that we've got the same dedication to have like a clinic like we talked about.
That's what I'm saying, the money will be handled through the established healthcare resources that the state already funds. So it would not necessarily be a bricks and mortar clinic. It was, and we have the same idea. And I want to tell you something that we just did in Harris is Mercer came in. You put a Mercer clinic in Hamilton because there was no healthcare established. There's no hospital or full-time doctor in Harris County. And Harris County had a building, and they gave the building to Mercer to do that with. And the only string tied to it was Harris County had to raise $900,000. And they went out, and then the residents were able to raise the $900,000 to renovate the building. Then Mercer sent the doctors and the nurses there. And what they did is they partnered with the school system, exactly what you're talking about. So I think moving forward, there may be some opportunities across counties where we can partner up and do the same thing. But in most of these cases now, they are asking for investment and buying from the county. But currently, my understanding is that the funding was moved into those areas. We just have to double check and make sure that
And the only reason I really want more information because our mortality rate for our babies in Meriwether County is still very high. That has not changed. So if we're going to try to help these mothers and with the mortality rate, it still needs to be addressed.
One of the things that has entered into the conversation that influenced that is that Georgia developed a very high maternal mother death rate. And so we looked at the Medicaid reimbursement, and it only took care of postpartum care for women that were Medicaid moms for 6 weeks. And they were dying at 6 and 8 months after they delivered. So this year we were able to extend coverage for Medicaid women up to a year after birth. So that will help, because as they're coming in for their care, we get a chance to have an impact on what's happening with the baby. That's why it's moved from a separate bricks and mortar, because they're going to be using the doctors that they have in the community that are seeing mom and the baby.
Chairman Dean Burke on the House side to understand this is, and you bring it up, it's a great point. This is a very tragic situation, very hard situation. We also provided funding so that we can increase the number of autopsies paid for by the state on maternal death. these return desks to make sure that there are folks that are under it. And also, one thing I'm proud of, I carried a piece of legislation that now communities can, any nonprofit or organization come in the community and they can build a maternity home, as you remember from years past. And these organizations can build these homes for mothers, pregnant mothers who are homeless, single, have no place to go. Can go in there, have their child, and live there an additional 18 months while they're bonding. They allow these wraparound services and all this. And those homes are not smothered by state regulations. They still have to follow all the safety codes and all of this that the county establishes. And the county still has a certain amount of oversight. But the current state maternity homes, sadly, are filled with foster children who are pregnant. And so we didn't have enough in our own communities. So that legislation did pass, and the governor signed it in a few weeks back, and I'm going to the first ribbon cutting of a maternity home here within the next 3 weeks. And so that's, you know, we can talk about how we want to save babies and all this other kind of stuff, but if we're not doing things on the front end to help that pregnant mother, and then things on the other side to help the mother and the child, I think we're really just spitting.
Thank you. That's good information to have.
Well, I would just like to say how much we appreciate the two of you representing Meriwether County so well
Yes, we do.
and working together. I mean, you're opposite sides of the aisle, but it does not matter, you know.
Opposite sides of the bill.
I do want to follow up with one thing that Senator Robertson mentioned, and a lot of you probably don't even know anything about this, but you mentioned something about taking care of the state employees. And I had a situation in my district where a state employee was in a, for lack of a better word, just a terrible situation. And they called me, I called her boss and different ones, and they tried to see what we could do. And I reached out to Representative Buckner, which I think in turn talked to Representative Robertson at some point, and then Senator Robertson, and then former Representative Bob Trammell. And they got the situation rectified. And when I'm telling you, this wasn't something that happened and cleared up overnight. In fact, I was driving to Virginia, and I think Representative Buckner and I talked probably 6 of those 8 hours on the way up there, but they mean what they say. I mean, they will take care of and look into things when a situation is not right. And I do appreciate it. And I know the constituent appreciate it. And I mean, y'all went way far above and
I think
took some risk probably there.
No, we didn't take that many risks, but it was what you think about is if it would have happened in Chatham County, I think we both would have went and tried to solve the problem. But with the fact that it happened here where we represent, I saw the passion and heard the passion in her voice, and I was appreciative of the fact that we have people that serve, like y'all in other places, that understand it's our job to take care of our people. And, you know, when it's in Chatham County, it's important, but those aren't our people. Our people are here, and you know, our heart's in it. And it's certainly not the 17,500 a year.
Well, it was. I mean, you really did. I mean, I had not really even thought about it till you said that, but that is the absolute truth. And y'all went way beyond what you had to rectify that situation. Hopefully, it won't happen again.
We know these guys a lot. They're incredible, and I wouldn't. You couldn't pay me enough to work with DOT and take the abuse these guys take. But the bottom line, these guys are state employees, and they do a tremendous job. And not every agency performs as well as DOT does. And those things do arise as they do in any business. And people sometimes forget that these state employees are out there like they do. The employees that work in the county jail, the employees that work in the hospital, people become used to it, and they forget that these people are extremely important. They also forget that they're human beings just like all the rest of us. So, but thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
carrying it out.
I appreciate the opportunity of serving so much of Meriwether County for the last 10 years. I will still be in the southern part in Manchester and Durham and
Warm Springs.
and going over into Troup County. So I'll still be around, and those lines are imaginary. So if you need to call me. We've taken up a lot of your time tonight.
Thank you both.
It was good to get an update, though. We appreciate it.
Good to see y'all too.
think they deserve it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Health Department roofing proposals. Ms. Irizarry?
Mr. Gregory is going to, yeah, he's gonna.
Madam Chair, you've got the memo I distributed earlier with the wrong heading on the top of the memo. Apologize for that. You'll see the solicited bids for the health department across the parking lot here.
I don't know where it is. You got too much paper.
Right here. I knew I had it.
Oh, yeah, the one Bill screwed up with the names.
I picked up the space. We asked for quotations to replace it with a shingle roofing and then a metal roofing, and the quotes came in as you see on the memo. It is our recommendation we go with T. Reeves Roofing with the metal option. Reason being is the other county buildings in Greenville, we've gone with that metal roofing. And for that $7,665 difference between the metal and shingle, you get a roof that matches this building and the defects building, plus you get 10 more years warranty over the shingle. So that is our recommendation. We worked with Reeves Roofing a couple of times in the past 2 or 3 years, and they've done a real good job. They've always come back. We've had any kind of problems with them, and they are local. I'll try to
Anyone have
answer
any questions?
questions.
I make a motion we award the bid to Reeves Roofing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you.
For the metal?
Huh?
For the
With
metal?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, don't you, yeah,
Definitely metal, yeah.
sorry, okay.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the courthouse roof.
Madam Chair and Board, yesterday afternoon with Principal Construction, and we feel that it's imperative that the county cameras the existing drains in the courthouse roof to determine if they can be relined or sleeved. It will be much more cost effective. The price to do the total investigative work is $12,890.
That's just to put cameras down through there to see what's there.
Here's an example.
Let them put holes in the wall.
Yes.
Okay, anybody have any questions? We know we've got quite the issue there.
We do.
All right, we have a motion,
So move.
a second? Second. All in favor?
Do you know how long it'll take them to do that?
Bill, do you know how long it'll take them?
As soon as we can let you know.
I could within 2 weeks.
All right, next report from our county administrator, Ms. Irizarry.
Okay, open enrollment was yesterday. It's also Wednesday and Thursday. So if you have any questions or need to speak to any of the representatives, they'll be here all day. Informal conversations regarding Lost have begun. We have met with Manchester, Gay, and Luthersville to date, and trying to set up something with Woodbury later this week. We interviewed for the license and permitting tech. She will begin on June 6th. And excellent news regarding the Warm Springs Roosevelt AWAS project. The power and phone is ready in place. So they're ready to move forward on that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. A report from our county commissioners, Commissioner Hines.
Governor Kemp announced last week 33 nonprofits and also some cities received funding from the state American Rescue Plan. There were several people who applied, but out of our area, Troup County Salvation Army did receive some funding. The funding they received, I think it was $165,000, but what is good about that, and the reason I'm bringing it up, is that in their proposal, they're going to offer a wraparound service for Meriwether County. So that includes Troup, Meriwether, and I think maybe Hurd. But once again, this is an opportunity to get them in our county to help, once again, with that wraparound service. So just good to know that when you do things on a regional basis, it really does come and help. And knowing how many people applied, I don't know whether they're going to have a second round or not, but I noticed there were several counties that applied for funding. And I would like to see, I will try to get more information on what those counties got funded at. Because once again, we're always looking at how we can get some more funds in the county. So we'll look at that. And I talked to Corinne Thornton the other day, and she's going to provide us with some information. As you might know, DCA has money for housing as far as paying rent and things of that nature. They also have a program to help people fix up their homes. And we have a lot of, I don't know about the rest of this board, get a lot of calls about how people can fix their homes, especially our seniors. So there is a program that the Department of Community Affairs have. Maybe we can get Corinne or someone from DCA to come in and give us an updated thing. But I know that the rental assistance program is still up and running, and unfortunately, our region has not taken advantage of that. So I'm encouraging that we find that information and we can help our citizens. That would be really good. That's all I have.
Always people needing help with rent.
We have a lady in Manchester that has the rental assistance program too, to help out anybody in the county. I'll get that information.
That'll be good. I think the one that I get the most calls is people wanting to get their house fixed, especially our seniors. I've had several calls on seniors that want some ramps built because they no longer, and I don't know whether there's a nonprofit or the Habitat, or maybe we can reach out to Dash, but see who can offer that type of service for some of our elderly citizens. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Plant?
I just wanted to mention the two events that I was able to attend, and that was the airport groundbreaking for the hangar, which is great, and that was on the 12th. And then the chamber event last week, where that was a really good event also, where they recognized Miss Jane and the Marietta County Industrial Development Authority. Very much appreciated, but had to stand the whole time. Makes it short and sweet, but anyhow, I enjoyed that. But that's all for me.
I'll just follow up with Commissioner Plant. I attended both of those events as well, and it was nice to have the chamber event again. It had been 2 years, or this was the third year, I think, since we had that, and it was very nice, and it was great to see our Industrial Development Authority recognized, and the facts and figures that they threw out were quite impressive. I think a lot of people there probably just didn't realize the things that are going on there, the tax revenue that is generated, so I thought that
I have
was...
them if you need them.
I know, I've heard them, but I think some of the people there probably just didn't realize that, and that was good. And like I said, the chamber event was great. That's all. Commissioner Review.
The only thing is Memorial Day, Manchester's having a memorial tribute at 11 a.m. at the old mill in Manchester, and they'll have a veterans reception following that at the senior center. That's all I have.
All right, Commissioner McCoy.
Well, I attended the events also, and I was very much impressed, but the only thing we've left out is the Peaches and the Pines, June 11th, don't forget that, in the 6th.
All right. All right, anything from our county attorney?
I have no report. I do understand that we have a need for executive session, brief executive session for real estate and tax matters.
We don't have anything legal.
Not that I'm aware of. That needs to be discussed.
Okay. All right, before we go into executive session, let me recognize a few dates here. May 30th, offices will be closed for the Memorial Day holiday. Our next regular meeting, June 8th at 9 a.m. June 20th will be the Juneteenth holiday. Offices will be closed. June 28th will be our regular meeting at 6 p.m. We appreciate those that are here tonight. At this point, can we have a motion to go into executive session? Have a motion to go back into regular session?
So move.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, we did have one item to take action on for an executive session.
And I would like to make a motion to remove all taxes, penalties, and interest to date on PB 3631 and allow the administration to send a letter to current tax commissioner.
All right, we have a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor? Any other business to come before the board?
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, we are adjourned at 8:15. Thank you.